The next game is another one of these spoiling games. It comes from a tournament played in Tula in 1995, and this time the black player is 200 elo points lower rated than his opponent, who is Alexei Shestoperov, graded 2445. Playing black is our hero Vladimir Kozlov, he's graded 2250. And once again we see the contours of the main line appearing on the board. You might say, well, can't white play anything other than these moves? Well, yes, he can, but actually his prospects of getting an advantage with any other system apart from the main line are limited, as I'll show on part 2 of this particular DVD. But for the time being, let's rejoin Shestoperov Kozlov, with white just shunting out the pieces, and now black plays our preferred move order, delaying the entry of the knight on G8 into the game. White brings his knight out to F3, pawn up to E6, and white castles. I mean, I'm concentrating on this line because I think it's the one that's going to crop up most often in your games. It seems to be statistically, overwhelmingly the most popular way to play with white. And as I say, if we just drop back one move, obviously white can feint towards casting on the queen side, but then I think black can take all the sting out of that by developing the bishop to B4 early, and threatening to damage the white pawn structure. So anyway, castles is, again, statistically the move that is played most often. Black brings his knight out to D7, rook E1, knight G F6. And now Shestoperov is really stuck for an active move, so he plays bishop B3. I'm absolutely sure that the move white was concentrating on in this position, and perhaps his original intention, was D5. Obviously, if you're playing this way with black, when white puts his rook on E1, you've got to be alert to the possibility that D5 actually exists. But here, I think black has a very adequate response after knight B6. I think possibly this is the move that Shestoperov might have underestimated. And of course, this move now suddenly gives black a perfectly good game. In fact, it looks to me as though black is getting ready to win a pawn. So with D5 taken out of the equation, white can't really see exactly what to do here. I mean, okay, another one of those very natural moves, let's say, would be bishop G5. Well, then black just plays bishop E7, and it's on with the show. I'm not at all sure that bishop on G5 makes white's life any easier. It just means that after knight D5 by black, white's got another problem to think about. Should I exchange pieces or not? As we've seen before, if he does exchange pieces, he tends to get absolutely nothing. So I'm not saying white's stuck for moves here, but it is not that easy to find decent moves which carry his position forward. So bishop B3, just stepping out of the way of knight B6, certainly now sets up the threat of D5, which is of course why black plays bishop E7. Possibly bishop B4 is also a move here. Pawn to H3, we've seen that before. Castles, and now the point of H3 is revealed. White wants to take away the bishop pair after knight H4. Well, black really has no choice. He's got to drop back to G6. White hoovers off the bishop and then brings his queen out to F3. So it's a question of where black goes from a situation like this. He seems to be a little bit worse, fighting against two bishops. But as I say, that bishop on B3 is not especially impressive. And black starts to develop counterplay with knight B6. White goes knight E2, aware of the fact that the knight on C3 is not best placed, and he needs to protect the pawn on D4. And now black starts to work up counterplay with A5. A4. White decides to put a halt to the advance of that pawn on A5. However, A4 is not a move that comes without concessions, and black is quick to respond to this new situation by playing knight B D5. Of course, the main idea is that if white plays C4 now, then black has a nice outpost on B4 for one of his knights. So going back to the position after A5, I just wonder whether C3 might not have been a more sensible idea. I mean, I know what white was thinking of here. He was thinking that black would play A4, and then after bishop C2, black might play a move like queen D5, and then after queen takes D5, well, black has an interesting choice here. I think C takes D5 is probably best of all. And now we see that white's bishop pair is completely nullified by black's light square control. So black is absolutely fine in this position. He's got plans of moves like rook to c8. Then he think about moving his knight into e8 up to d6, eyeing c4. This seems perfectly reasonable for black. So that's why white played a4, going back to the game, to cut all that lark out. But then knight b d5. Suddenly that knight on d5, once again, it's a contest between the knight and the bishop on b3, which is the better minor piece. I don't think black is worse in this situation. Bishop g5. Queen comes out to b6. Rook a d1. Rook a d8, a whole host of natural moves being played. Where is white going? He plays knight g3. And now another very typical regrouping for this system. Black puts his rooks on the d file. Rook d7, and then rook f8. He's definitely thinking now, black, about breaking with c5 to bring his position to life. Knight e3. He really does not like that knight on d5. Black is happy to exchange. Bishop takes. And now the other knight comes to d5. White goes bishop c1. Black goes bishop f6. Gets the draw offer in. And white is happy to accept. Draw agreed. This is a perfectly respectable position for black. White understands that the pawn on d4 is coming under serious fire. Note that he can't play c3 because the bishop on b3 is hanging. So if he's reduced to, for instance, an idea like bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, and only now c3, you know, I think black is in fantastic shape after, for instance, a move like queen b3. So I mean, going back to bishop f6, there's actually no reason why black should offer a draw in this position. Okay, I don't think white is worse, for instance, after a move like queen e4, but black is not worse either. And black can consider even a move like c5. So another, of course, relative success, where a 200-point elo advantage was completely nullified by black's sensible opening play.